Welcome back, nerdy movie fans. Join me on this journey in exploring Project Hail Mary. This is being hailed as one of the contenders for the best movies this year. A lot of people are considering this their favorite for now. It's certainly my favorite for this year for now. And I have a strong feeling that even maybe towards the end of the year, this will still be an extremely strong contender for a movie of the year for me personally. It had a little bit of sort of every element you want in a modern movie that can be enjoyed by everyone. And so you have basically, there's movies that seem like they're almost made for certain people. You don't have a lot of movies that sort of anyone can enjoy. Parents, kids, group of friends. This movie really has all of those elements combined into this one. And not only are a lot of people extremely thrilled with this movie, a lot of people are thrilled with Ryan Gosling's performance, saying it's one of the best of his career. And I personally have a lot of movies of his that I haven't seen, and I really need to catch up. But I can agree, yeah, this was an extremely strong performance from him. And though this movie it can be compared to some stuff. I am seeing a lot of YouTubers are explaining that there is elements of multiple different kinds of films in this one, but that aside, it is still extremely enjoyable, and it feels authentic. It feels like you have this sense where you want to root for these characters. This isn't bogged down with some complex moral decision making characters that you kind of either want some of them to die or you're not rooting for them anymore. There's not really a lot of complexities. These are just characters that have a tough situation on their hands, and they're doing the best they can to try and solve what's going on with what information they do have. So this is, of course, this space movie, but there is so much of a human element in this one as well. So the movie sort of picks up with Grace. This guy wakes up on the spaceship, and he doesn't really have any memory or a sense of his surroundings. He's just waking up, and he's trying to figure out what is going on. Pretty soon, in the opening scene, he discovers he is in fact on a spaceship, to his surprise. And so this movie does this thing, which I would say extremely well, where the movie starts off in the present time, he gets some information, and then you slowly start getting some flashbacks of what happened. This trope is interesting to me because for some reason, for me personally, I feel like TV shows like to severely overexploit this trope, where it feels like they don't have enough screen time or enough of a story or enough of an explanation in their current timeline of whatever the project is, that a lot of TV show seasons, at least the ones I've seen, feels like half the time is flashbacks. And there are some projects where it can work. I'm a DC fan, so watching the series Arrow, for the first 5 seasons, our main character, he spent 5 years on an island. So for the first 5 seasons, you get those first 5 years. And so it served a purpose, and it showed how he became the Green Arrow, essentially. So shows like that, the flashbacks serve a purpose. But there's just a lot of shows, at least Arrow, for example, after season 5, season 7, I believe, it just felt like a complete, utter waste of time, which feels that way a lot of time with a lot of shows and movies as well. So my point is, this movie, everything served a purpose. All the flashbacks, you got to not only learn a little bit more about the scope of what's going on with the world and with this group of people specialized in this particular mission to try to save the planet, save humankind. You start to get their complexities. So when I said that you don't have a lot of morally complex characters, there are some, but it's written in a way where you sort of understand the decisions that are being made. I mean, you have people making some tough calls, but this is also the kind of, the stakes are survival of humankind. Those are the stakes. And so with those kinds of stakes, of course, decisions will be made that isn't going to benefit everyone, and that's just how it is. So I never felt that I was annoyed or frustrated with the characters. I just, when you learn about certain things that were done to certain characters, you just sit back and realize, wow, that just really sucks for that character. But damn, this is still a good movie. And so that's the way I felt the entire time. You have so many elements, like I said, the beginning where he's sort of learning about his surroundings, start getting flashbacks, but when you find out what he's there to do, basically are these particles that are sort of eating away at the sun, almost, and in 30 years' time, it's going to be extremely detrimental. And so there is this group where different countries are sending their own specialists to try to build a team to send a more specialized, particular team up into space to try and collect data from these particles, send them back, bring them back to Earth, so they can then find a cure, and at least humankind will ultimately survive, even though the timeline in this movie, it is described as going to take some time. There will be a couple of decades where it's going to be tough for the people of Earth. And so that's what I mean by these stakes. There's a constant sense of dread, but it's not your typical movie stakes where either bad guy wants to destroy the world or bad guy wants to kill this hero. It's not like that. It's more complicated than that. And so there are elements where I'm seeing a lot of people are comparing it to Interstellar with the whole go to space to find a way to help humanity survive. In the very basic sense, sure, it can be compared, but I would say this movie has so much more heart than that, than just being compared to some other space movie. This has so much more heart, and when you get toward, you finish the first third, I would argue, the first third, when you start to meet this other life form, as we see from the trailer, we know that there's an extraterrestrial life form in some form of a ship in the trailer. When Dr. Grace, he's a school teacher, but when Ryan Gosling's character Grace, when he meets this other being, as they begin to learn how to communicate and learn what each other's goals are and learn how maybe they can help each other and learn how to work together, that keeps building progressively, and it keeps adding to the story. You keep getting layers and layers of their story together, but also it's not just happening on Earth, it's happening on this guy's planet as well. And so for someone who's been on his own for so long, to find someone else to finally share just his day with, I mean, he's starting to see the light in the little moments. He's very grateful for this now friendship that he's formed, and this almost buddy system they got going on. This is what makes it the family fun aspect, because there's comedy, but it's never overbearing, it's never cringe, it's never too much, it's never, I don't feel like they ever missed the mark. The comedy was perfectly timed, and I would say perfectly executed. It was exactly what I wanted from the kind of comedy that they created between these two characters. And so as they're learning to survive, not only separately, but now together, especially for the goal of saving their own planets, now the stakes are higher, because it's now looking like it's happening across, the galaxy or the universe or whatever terminology you want to use. These stakes keep getting higher. And so as certain things happen throughout the movie and you start to wonder, would this character die or would that character die? This is creating dread. So it's not a horror movie in a sense, but the unnerving sense of dread is very much there and present with certain characters in certain scenes and at certain moments. And there was a little bit of everything. I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat at certain moments. I was tearing up at certain moments. I was laughing at a lot of moments. Just the visuals alone, I was just staring at the screen in awe in so many moments. So when I say this movie had a little bit for everyone, that's what I mean. Visually, comedy, the acting, the CGI work, which there is CGI, but this movie is a perfect example, I would argue, that CGI doesn't have to be a bad thing. It just has to be executed well. And I would argue that it was executed very well in this movie. It looked great. It never looked bad. I never had an issue with it. I never had a problem with it. So at the end of the day, this movie was extremely enjoyable. had extremely likable characters, and as it's getting towards, I would say, last fourth, last fifth of the movie, there are a couple of different moments where you feel like maybe this is the end of the movie, but then it's not, and then something else happens, you think it's the end, and then it's not. So it almost feels like it's teasing you with endings, but when it gives you more, when you thought it was over, it's a satisfying conclusion to what's going on. So it's not just some tease where it feels like, oh gosh, I need to use the bathroom. This is a long movie, or maybe I've sat through this long enough. It gives you something extra. It almost rewards you for being invested in this movie, because these moments that when you think it's over but it's not, when it gives you more, it's rewarding. The storylines and what happens to the characters, it's so rewarding that I just ended up leaving the theater smiling, feeling happy. I felt fulfilled. It was an incredible experience to watch a movie that visually looked like this, but also that felt the way it felt. So for me, this is a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love this movie. I thought long and hard about the negatives I would give this movie, and I really couldn't think of anything. I'm seeing a lot of YouTubers have sort of noted that certain side characters could have been fleshed out a little bit more, and while perhaps that can be true, sacrificing screen time for those side characters gave our main characters even more, which were by far the biggest highlight of this movie. So I just couldn't bring myself to say there was any bad element to this movie. So I extremely, highly enjoyed it. I would check it out. This is definitely one you got to see on the big screen. I would see it on the biggest screen possible. This is what movies were made for. This captures the theater experience, I would argue, and it was incredible. So yeah, check it out, guys. Let me know what you think. I loved it. I hope everyone else loves it. It seems like it's successful, and I hope its success continues, because this movie's worth it. It's worth your time, and it's worth investing into. Thanks, guys.